Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary for the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election.
Conservatives pretty angry about those comments from a veteran CBS correspondent. Many critics say they ring hollow. One posting, true self-reflection would demand the question, why was that? The answer is because most legacy media are Democrat propagandists. Another with, after actively engaging in a cover-up of Biden's cognitive state, legacy media is now attempting to rewrite history. Daily Caller piece summed it up this way, quote, rather than take a principled stand on the journalistic ethics of the media ignoring what she called Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline, Crawford lamented that her and the media's lack of scrutiny cost the Democrats a chance to run a better candidate. Other high-profile media figures now claim they should have done a better job.
I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being. They did a good job of hiding it for a long time, but journalists, and I put myself here, you've got to, we should have been pushier.
Fox got Americans' thoughts on New Year's resolutions for the media.
Tell us the truth.
And I just want true coverage and fair coverage of everybody.
Tell the truth.
Be fair.
I think they need to be more honest.
Accuracy and being for the people, not for themselves.
I think, American people want to hear the truth, and sometimes that isn't what they're hearing.
Recent polls show 69% say they have little or no confidence at all in the news media. Joe Concha is a Fox News contributor, joins us today. Thanks so much. And Happy New Year to you, Joe. Do you think that this soul searching, do you think it's mostly a regret about how the president was covered, or it's a regret that they didn't manage to push the president to move aside a little earlier?
Oh, it's patently phony, Rich. I mean, after the fact, I couldn't believe Jan Crawford's comments when she said that Joe Biden's cognitive decline only became apparent to all of us at that debate in Atlanta on June 27th. No, it's been apparent since going back to the campaign of 2020. And the reason why, by the way, the biggest scandal in modern presidential history, let's call it for what it is, was underreported was because media organizations like CBS News either refused to report what was right in front of them. You didn't have to dig. You just had to watch Biden and listen to Biden, or they bought into this whole ridiculous and insulting cheap fakes narrative pushed out by the White House. I mean, listen to these headlines from CBS, Rich, that came out back in June before that debate. Quote, misleading Biden virals go viral, unquote. Or another headline, quote, examining the impact of cheap fakes on the 2024 race, unquote. That is called gaslighting, and it was intentional, all in an effort to defeat Trump at all costs. And don't believe for 1 second, by the way, that journalists were duped into believing that Biden was fine when their eyes, ears, and basic sanity told them otherwise. We all saw Biden shaking hands with the air after speeches. We all saw Biden, 50-year political veteran, suddenly not knowing how to exit a stage, or wandering off during photo shoots, or claiming he had conversations with foreign leaders who have been dead literally for years. So anyone objective has known that the current president's brain had basically turned to applesauce starting a few years ago, and no partisan outlet, Rich, try as they tried, could convince us otherwise.
Do you think also that there's a sense, and it's been a long-running thing, as politicians are beginning to age here, that there's been just a sensitivity around talking about politicians as they get into their 80s and are still running for re-election?
I think we could at least have a conversation around term limits, for example, or in this case, obviously, Joe Biden couldn't be term limited. But, well, yeah, he's going to be 83, 84 years old at the end of his term. So maybe this is something where we should, as journalists, demand for physical and mental tests to be done to see if they're still up for the job. I think that is at least fair. But again, it depends on whether what letter you have next to your name, D or R, whether those things are truly explored, apparently.
So moving on to some comments here from former CNN anchor Don Lemon. He tore into Trump supporters after a Republican debate over a migrant visa program for skilled workers.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Now you're finding out, you dumb idiots. Now you're just figuring this out. You're so stupid and you deserve it. You deserve it because you're so dumb. Jim, it's hypocrisy. You have been co-opted because you're in a fucking cult and you don't even realize it because you have stupid MAGA brain and you don't get it. How stupid and dumb are you?
It's also not the first time we've heard similar rhetoric.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
So 77 million Americans voted for Trump this time around. He beat VP Harris in the popular vote by about 200,000 ballots. First Republican presidential candidate to win since George W. Bush in 2004. Joe, this is also just bad politics, no?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, Rich. I mean, Democrats used to be the party of the working man and woman, right? And now they sound like elites when they're talking down to people like this. You want to go after Donald Trump or any Republican, fine, that's fair game. But when you start going after their supporters, all nearly 78 million of them, that may turn some people off. And you would think people would have learned from what happened with Hillary Clinton. That was one of the biggest moments of that 2016 campaign when she went after Trump supporters like that. It was a rallying cry, quite frankly, and the biggest unforced error we've seen. And then obviously we saw the comments from Joe Biden referring to Trump supporters as garbage. That was a big deal as well. And Trump exploited it nicely by actually driving a garbage truck. But then Don Lemon to go down this road as well from his multi-million-dollar mansion somewhere on Long Island, talking about how stupid Trump supporters are. I mean, that's what desperation sounds like. The kind of desperation from a guy who's begging for anyone to pay attention to him. And by the way, he let the veil down because we were told by Don Lemon himself that he was just a serious journalist, just asking serious questions without fear or favor to party. I'll leave it here. He has a show on a YouTube channel now, and it is the last interview he did just went up 2 days ago. 10,000 people watched. You could put a kitten playing with yarn up and get 10 times the views in about 5 minutes that Don Lemon got. So I guess bye-bye 24. Hello irrelevance completely to Don Lemon, who is just sounding so desperate for attention at this point because that's what narcissists want.
Joe Concha, thanks for joining us. And thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. I'm Rich Edson, in for Harris. Outnumbered is after the break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.